I've been to many western lakes, but maybe none as pretty as Apache. Part of the Salt River chain of lakes that allows Phoenix, Arizona to exist as we know it today, Apache Lake is at the heart of what once was Apache Indian country and what became a battleground of the westward movement. A place where you might run across the likes of Pancho Villa, or bands of warriors led by the great Chief Geronimo, or perhaps even more dangerously, Victorio. Today, the drive to Apache takes you through what still is the Wild West on a dirt road that winds through amazing canyons with views that makes the trip worthwhile in itself. And at last, when you drop over the last ridge to finally see the lake, you realize what's so special about Apache. In every direction, something will catch your eye. And at every sunrise or sunset, a new picture is painted. I've ended up at Apache at the invitation of Bob Schmidt of Max Lure Company, who suggested that I film an episode with the legendary trickcaster and Bass Fishing Hall of Fame member Stan Fagerstrom. Since the early 50s, Stan has been an outdoor writer for many newspapers and magazines, and has put out some of the original great how-to books. But more famously, Stan has entertained and taught countless thousands of people with his trick casting demonstrations that have taken him around the world. Stan now makes his home in Arizona, where he still writes, but also enjoys playing music on his fancy organ. World War II is not such a distant memory for Sergeant Fagerstrom, who introduced the Japanese to some of America's more effective artillery shells in the jungles of the South Pacific, being awarded the Bronze Star for courage and initiative for his role in the Battle of Mindanao in the Philippines. Towards the end of the war, Stan's unit was scheduled to land in Tokyo Bay and to invade Tokyo itself, but in a twist of fate, the bomb was dropped, and instead, Stan performed in Tokyo many decades later, signing autographs for admiring fans. Today, we're on Apache Lake with Stan Fagerstrom and Bob Schmidt, and showing us the lake is local angler Justin C., who has a reputation for catching a few nice bass in Arizona lakes. We'll learn about Apache, which is a tremendous fishery, and also, Stan will show us that even in his 80s, he's still got a few tricks working. I'm Justin Wolff, and this is Angler West Television. It's the first week of May, and we couldn't have prettier conditions. Apache is 17 miles long with an average depth of 240 feet, which adds up to a whole lot of lake for Apache's predatory fish to feed on crayfish and giant schools of threadfin shad.
Man, he just smacked that promise keeper. I mean, just whaled it.
Apache's been stocked with many game fish species, so you might not know what you have.
Yeah, get that net ready.
Until it's to the boat.
I hope it's an 8-pound smallmouth.
I hope it's a 15-pound walleye.
Well, we know what dinner would be, wouldn't we? Oh my goodness. Well, this thing hit it like a big old catfish, I think. I was hoping we'd have a big old bass. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm believing it's a catfish the way it's fighting. I can't do anything with it. Yeah, I'm using 8-pound test. I gotta be real careful.
Big old catfish, all right.
Actually, that's a flat.
What?
Flathead. Big old flathead. About 20, 25 foot of water. Man, that thing just inhaled it.
What are you using?
Got this one on a Wedding Wing Promise Keeper, believe it or not. Look at that.
This episode is brought to you in part by the California Department of Boating and Waterways, Shasta Tackle Company, Max Lure, and Max High Definition Sunglasses.
I mean, just whaled it.
Welcome back to Apache Lake. I'm Justin Wolff. A big flathead catfish is the first fish of the day caught by Justin C., a testament to Apache as a highly productive multi-species
Got
lake.
that one on a Max Lure Promise Keeper. Not fishing for catfish, but boy, that thing whacked it good. We got a double stand. I got one too.
This guy doesn't know he's a small fish. This is a spinnerbait fish. The old stand spin.
You get him, buddy?
It's
Nice. Come here, booger. All right, we got a double stand.
yeah, how about that?
I'm gonna let mine go.
Huh? If you don't mind, let mine go too.
Nice job.
All right.
Pretty little fish.
Is indeed, yeah.
All right, Stan, we got a double.
Good
Good job, man.
Yes, sir. I particularly like to catch a fish on a lure that has my name on it. And that, you know, you hang around long enough, we'll name something after you. And this is a stand spin.
Nice. Good fit. Very nice. Look at that, Stan.
Look at the body on that fish. Beautiful. Can imagine.
Good stuff, huh?
Yeah, indeed.
All right.
All right.
Let's let her go.
Thank you, Justin. I've caught a bunch of fish on the Max Lure stand spin, and every now and then I alter one of them a little bit. I had a little flashaboo to the tail on this one. I've given casting demonstrations, I suppose, more than anybody else probably in the world, because I gave the first one in 1952 at the old Pan Pacific Auditorium in Los Angeles. Been at it ever since. Every now and then somebody tells me they can't cast left-handed. Well, you're out here casting all day, casting right-handed. That right hand's going to get, wrist is going to get worn out. Anybody can cast left-handed by taking just a couple simple steps. First one is to transfer. You know what your right thumb does when you cast right-handed. Put your left thumb in that position. Now you grasp your rod handle with your right hand, and you simply make your cast like this. And don't tell me you can't cast left-handed, because you can cast like that all day long. And it's surprising the number of people who have never tried that. You know, every now and then one of us gets troubles with our shoulder or with our wrist or whatever. That won't keep you from fishing if you're a right-hander, because all you got to do is get that left hand like that, get the bottom of the rod. Most of your casting strength still comes from your right hand. Zingo. That's all there is to it.
Come fish beautiful Apache Lake for yourself. For information, contact Apache Lake Resort. The resort has comfortable rooms with great views of the lake and everything you need for a fishing vacation, including a well-stocked store and a full restaurant and bar. Visit ApacheLake.com or call 928-467-2511. This episode of Angler West TV is brought to you in part by Procure Bait Sense, P-Line, Niels Master Lures of Finland, and Van Warmer Resorts. Apache Lake's deep, clear water presents its own challenges, but on this day we also have a receding water level, which can make the bite even more challenging. But the wide variety of Max lure tackle can really help under these conditions.
I just switched it up to a Texas rig with a smile blade on there, first cast, and he just whacked it.
Yeah, nice largemouth.
That motor oil smile blade. Nice little largemouth. This is typical size, probably about 2.5, 3 pounds. Just a nice fish, your average fish here. Catch these all day long. Alright, I picked that one up on a little jig with a piece of plastic and a smile blade, motor oil. See if we can get some more. Nice.
What are we dealing with? Largemouth.
Oh, looky there. What do you got, Bob?
That's a nice one.
Yeah, you bet.
Good job, man.
Decided to try a little food chain action, use a hum bait as an attractor out in front of a little cha-cha squitter, and he came up, popped that thing right next to the shore.
One great thing about Max Lure Tackle is the enormous variety of components that can be used on their own or mixed and matched with just about any type of lure.
Just change that bait. Swim and sinker with a smile blade. Different colored blade. Get out of there now. Don't go wild on us. Not so bad. Got him. Chrome.
Nice.
Smile blade, yeah. Turn him loose.
Alrighty, wanna give him a kiss?
Yeah. No, let Jimmy kiss the fish. I was fishing with my friend Bob Schmidt down at El Salto one time, and after he caught about 4 or 5 fish to my one, why, I took a look at what he's using, and he had rigged a smile blade ahead of a swimming Senko. Well, now, I've caught a lot of fish in that swimming Senko, and it's got an action all of its own. I told him so. I said, hey, that swimming Senko's got, I'm not so sure your smile blade's wasn't doing anything special, because that swimming Senko swims pretty darn good by itself. So what's he do? He throws that smile blade on with a bare hook out there, and wham! Anyhow, that in the space of about the next half hour, we hooked 20 fish, put 19 of them in the boat, and I changed my rigging in a hurry, and every blasted one of them was caught on this kind of a setup. And they didn't have that type of aircraft when I was in the service back in the early 40s. Matter of fact, the first shots I fired were at a Japanese Betty, which is an attack bomber, right on top of the coconut trees. I had got one whack out of her, one right there and one there. I don't know how I could have missed that thing. Would have been nice to have had those choppers come in and get us when we got in trouble, but that was a little different situation back there in the jungle. So the natives would row out into this area in front of where we had our company set up. And they would look down, they would spot the schools of fish and indicate their presence and row the heck out of there. And we had our 60 and 80 millimeter mortars set up on the beach with delayed action shells. They just come back and they fill 2 boats full of fish. If you got around someplace where there were holes, like on a relatively clear stream that might be dumping, and you could find pools, why hand grenades could be very effective too.
This special episode was made possible in part by Max Lure. Learn more about the hundreds of Max Lure products at maxlure.com. Now here's Stan Fagerstrom at home in his workshop with a little history of the stand spin spinnerbait.
Kind of interesting to know the history of some lures, especially the lures that today knock the scales off a fish. I have a friend named Dr. Ron Sturts, good guy, turned out to be a good friend of mine, and he started working with mylar plastic and different shapes and designs, and he knew that I was a bass fisherman, or tried to be, and that I fished a spinnerbait a good bit. So he just roughed out a couple of things that looked like this, that looked like a spinnerbait, and he realized they weren't refined at all, but he wanted me to take them out and see if the fish would show any interest. I managed to catch a couple of fish on the things. They were large, overly large, and the blade was too big. We talked about it and whatnot. And eventually, let me show you what that turned into. This doggone thing, if you drop it into the water, which I suggest you do first time you try it, watch it, because it helicopters down in a fashion unlike any other spinnerbait on the market. And one of the most effective ways I found to fish it around, like piling, tree stumps and that sort of thing, is to cast up alongside that cover, let it fall, and it's falling with that blade just humming, and then twitch it up sharply and away, because now and then sometimes bass just can't leave it alone. Came out originally with just the mylar blade, as I've mentioned. Sometimes great all by itself, but you don't have the vibration that comes with a metal blade, so why not put 2 for 1? So that's what you have today in the Max Lure stand spin, and I'm proud that that has my name on the partner.
Today's episode of Angler West TV is brought to you in part by Qualicum River's Winter Harbor Resort, Dove Island Lodge, the Boomerang Tool Company, and Coldwell Banker C&C Properties. Welcome back to Apache Lake. I'm Justin Wolff. We're fishing with Bass Fishing Hall of Fame member Stan Fagerstrom, Bob Schmidt of Max Lure, and Justin C.
I was waiting for one of them little guys to hit that.
And so far we have a catfish and a bunch of bass to the boat. So why not a bluegill?
Yeah, man, this lake is just loaded full of bluegill. These little, what we call warmouth. You bring your kids out here, some bobber and some mealworms, and just clean up. But today we're catching them on these little promise keepers. A lot of fun. He was getting chased.
At the heart of Apache's productivity is the healthy threadfin shad population.
Here's your average size threadfin shad, probably good 4 inches. These bass just gorge on them. So a lot of times we're trying to imitate these shad, and that's the main food source out here, aside from crayfish. You can tell he's been chewed on a little bit this morning. This is just a fantastic little hole right here, man.
Arizona lakes are known for their clarity, which can be a problem for fishermen, especially if you're not using the right stuff.
Yeah, with these Arizona lakes, you definitely need to pay attention to the clarity of the water. This P-line fluorocarbon just really seems to give you that advantage, because the lakes are so clear, and you got that presentation that's so much more subtle with this line. What I've noticed since we've been fishing is that this lake level is just dropping big time, and that's what happens in the local reservoirs when they're generating power, is they'll drop the lake levels, and so it just kind of brings the fish off of where they normally are, and we're seeing them staging out deeper, so we're having a more difficult time catching them. They're suspended and whatnot, so we're really trying to figure out what we need to do to get these guys to bite. So just keep an eye on the lake level, and if you see it dropping, pull off of the shallow spot to that first shelf and see if you can come up with a bite a little bit deeper. Seems to work out a lot better. Just came off that first shelf, just like I was saying. Just working it down that ridge, and he wasn't up shallow, and it wasn't until I came off that first initial shelf where he's a little bit deeper. Little guy, but fun all day long, that's for sure. Oh, I'm gonna get my pliers and get this guy out of here. He got it good. Little guy, pretty fish. You can tell his lips a little bit chewed up here, because what they're doing is they're bumping rocks and flipping over rocks trying to move them to get the crayfish to come out, and then they're just whacking those crayfish. And you throw a little imitation crawdad bait, and that's what they're doing. And on this bait I got a little motor oil smile blade, and it just it got them to go for it. So we got 4 lakes on this reservoir chain, but what I love about Apache the most is just the beautiful scenery, the wildlife, some fantastic accommodations, the hotel, restaurant, great food, good people, real low boat traffic. On a busy day you might see 10 boats, as opposed to the other lakes being loaded. Amazing smallmouth fishing, amazing walleye. Just matters what you want to target, and just take your time and just have a fantastic time out here.
I had the good fortune to live right on the shore of Silver Lake in southwest Washington State. As far as I'm concerned, Washington State's best largemouth crappie lake for 35 years. My bass boat, about 60 feet from our front door. Not too bad. For a variety of reasons, we later moved to Florence, Oregon, and then I had 2 boats in the water all the time I was down there, one on Silk Goose and one on 10 Mile. But my wife couldn't handle the wet weather all the time, so we moved to Arizona 6 years ago. And you know, I'm just now starting to dry out. But I always wanted to get to Apache Lake, and this is the first opportunity I've had. This place is flat out beautiful.
And it's also a great place to practice your casting. For information about Stan Fagerstrom and Max Lure products, be sure to visit the Max Lure website at maxlure.com. Now here's a tip from Stan that will improve your casting with a spinning rod.
And here's a way I use the open face spinning reel that I maintain in many respects is superior to the right forefinger. I open my bail, drape the line across that finger in the same fashion, but that's where the sameness ends. Because now I drop my forefinger down here like this, and I trap that line right against the side of my spool, right? Now, when I make my cast, I come back and my release the line with my left forefinger. And all the time that line is peeling off the spool, it's coming off over my left forefinger, just the way she comes off under my thumb on the level wind reel. And at the end of the cast, I raise my rod, engage my reel this way manually, begin my retrieve, and you'll eliminate, besides gaining more accuracy, you'll eliminate about 85% of the problems associated with the open face spinning.
Hey, thanks for watching today's episode of Angler West TV. You know, it's only with the sponsor support that this show is made possible, so please thank them when you can. Now get out there and do some great fishing. Come fish beautiful Apache Lake for yourself. For information, contact Apache Lake Resort. The resort has comfortable rooms with great views of the lake and everything you need for a fishing vacation, including a well-stocked store and a full restaurant and bar. Visit ApacheLake.com or call 928-467-2511.